Hey everyone, this is Mr. Shy, and this is episode 2 of ShyCast. And well, to start, I've got good news and some not so great news, but I wouldn't call it bad news. And so I will start off with the not so great news, and that is for this episode, I will not be performing on that grand piano doing a nice intimate performance because my camera crew and their equipment is in the shop. It's being repaired, and so we can't do the really nice presentation and production of the piano and vocal performance. So but this is a one-time aberration. All episodes will have live performing, along with all the other great content that I'll be giving to you. But this one episode, I didn't want to hold off getting it done and posting it, so I will just be talking to you, and then I will have a very special guest, a dear friend, Candance Moore, and this is the good news. We did a Skype chat a few days ago, earlier in the week, and I will be presenting that to you in this episode too. She is, again, just a great friend, someone that I really connect to. When we talk, it's substantive, it's got depth, but it's also we're just good friends. She's got amazing wisdom. She is a published writer and editor, but she's published, I think, 5 books. I keep forgetting. I think it's 5. And most of them fiction, but Christian-based. And this is one of them. And I think I'm repeating myself because you'll see in the chat we cover everything as far as her writing. And this is Look Past Lodabar, a great book. She has left social media and the internet, and I can't blame her. So I can't give you you can find her on this, or this. All she's got now is an email. You'd think she was 70 or 80. She's not. She's a young woman. But you can find her online. Candance Moore is the author, and that's her name. And her books are published, and I think you can definitely order them on Amazon. And this is one of her books, but she, again, has written 5. And she's, again a great, dear, wonderful friend. And I've known her for, going back to 2007, 2008. And she lives in Virginia with her husband and her mother-in-law. Soon I will be giving you the great discussion we had. She also, so before I give you the great interview with Candance Moore, I will give you a little more backstory on how she's been involved in my music, because I'm sure people are kind of curious. I did this, and I talked about this briefly, but I kind of glossed over it. This is can you see it? A bonus booklet that went with a vinyl remixed record, and she wrote the introduction bio. But this booklet is the brainchild of a friend of mine who's a photographer and graphic designer. That's how I met him at a day job, and he is a Russian living in America, but of Russian descent. And I was beginning to put together my vinyl pressing of the remix compilation, and he kind of talked me into, strong-armed me, sort of, talked me into adding a really cool retro booklet that would sort of set a tone and a style. This is the photography that he took of me in front of Shy Crib 2.1, and I'm in 2.2 now. And disregard this. This is a scribbled. What I would do, I would send these out to DJs, and I would do a signature. I would go to such and such DJ, and then Shy along the side here. And this, I think I messed it up, as I often do. So anyway, but it's a really cool booklet. We went around the city, like 2 or 3 photo shoots, and this was shot in a McDonald's, if you can believe it. That was at my old apartment. And these women were just people that I knew, friends. She's an old friend of my brother's. I mean, I kind of grew up with her too, and she looks amazing here. You would never know her age, but let's see. And then this was 2 more quote models, but really she was an old high school friend, and this is her babysitter. So we kind of just were, on the fly trying to get anyone we could. I should be telling you these are supermodels and paid a hefty fee, but sadly no. And we would give them cool retro outfits with white boots. We did this again. This was done 10, 11 years ago, but it really came out very, very cool. And that's a great photo of me. You can also, Jesus, oh boy. And that's a photo, a really nice, cool photo that I got framed. I think you can see it in the back there, with the American flag leaning up against it. And I'm going to talk about that because I have thoughts on that flag and how it's being disrespected these days, and it's not good. Here's another photo shoot at that same McDonald's. This was in Midtown, and upstairs, and it was empty, but you would never know. It looks like some really cool bar. And then this is another model. This is a real model, and she is actually she was a Russian girl, young woman, visiting New York. This was the summer of 2010, and she went on to win a beauty contest, a real beauty contest in the province she lived in, which was the far eastern part of Russia. The Amur province, she was, the next year after this, we did this shoot, the next spring, she was a winner of a prestigious beauty contest award, Miss Russia Radio 2011. And I met her in a cafe with a friend of hers, not far from where I am now in Midtown. I had to sort of bug her for weeks until finally she agreed to do this photo shoot. And it was the last night of her in New York City before she had to fly back to Russia. I think she was here on a student exchange thing. And there's more I can tell you about her when I'm ready, if I'm ever ready to tell that story. But anyway, then this is a really cool shoot we did in Brooklyn at with these old restored cars. I'm losing my voice, I apologize. And I photoshopped a license plate that says Mr. Shy. Photographer did the photo and did the layout for this. Here's one more very cool shot. And but I did all the post-production and getting it out to a printer, and the last minute we added this as a bonus booklet, photo booklet to my vinyl album. And you can see it displayed in the back. That's the music wing of my museum here at Shy Crib 2.0. I've got to tell you about this band and this album. This is really what got me hooked on R&B and soul. And this was because up to this point I was a Kiss fanatic. And Black Sabbath and all the rock bands and that my brothers were into. I discovered these guys when I was a child actor, and someone had their poster in their green room. And then I got this album, or I think the first album I had was their first greatest hits, but this album is their classic. Everything in here is just amazing, and I got totally addicted and hook, line, and sinker into these guys, and that's kind of where I went with music. It's a great interior inside photo as well. This has all the classics. Hold on, let me. Shining Star, that's the way of the world, which is the smoothest, slow mid-tempo jam. Not even jam. It's a great song. Yearnin' Learnin', which is also one of my personal favorites. Not one of their bigger hits. Reasons, which is hugely popular. And they also had a great producer they worked with, which really set them on a new course, because then they had a bunch of hits starting with this and after this. But this is, for me, what got me onto just doing the kind of music I do now. So I wanted to share that with you. And then also, here's my debut album, CD, which I did 15 years ago. But what I didn't do in episode 1, which I want to do now, and 2, is also share with you kind of the cool, that's the CD. And I did all the design and print for this as well, kind of a one-man wrecking crew. But it's a really cool booklet with each song having its own themed page. Love the Way You Loved. And then what was that? I think that's Superstar, Cream of the Crop. That's a coffee cup. And this woman is someone I just knew online vaguely. I can't, or maybe MySpace, or I don't know where. Very pretty. And she had a very cool photo with her and a spoon on her eye. And I asked her, may I use this? And she said, oh yeah, go ahead. I hope I gave her credit. I think I did. I can't even read this. Anyway, it's a very cool booklet with each song, again, given its own treatment and lyrics. And I'm very proud of this because I kind of just, again, did it on my own, as I pretty much do most of my stuff, until more in the last years where I kind of then collaborated and worked with other producers and other record labels. They would do the artwork, and I would do sort of vocal work with them. They would do the production on the songs. You can get this CD, the physical CD you can get on Amazon and on, you can order it. I think it's on all sorts of online ordering services, and digitally it's pretty much available on, I guess, iTunes, although I think iTunes is different now, Spotify. You can download the album. And my remixed album, which is vinyl only, that's the booklet. I had to do contractual contracts for each DJ that stipulated that it's strictly just a vinyl for promotion only, and it was only to give out to DJs to play. So pretty much all the remixes on here you can't get online, but there's a lot of other remixes and remix EPs that I did, which were exclusively digital streaming or download remix EPs or singles, but not this. I think 1 or 2 of them you can find, but the rest you've got to be a DJ. And if you're a DJ, I still have at least 200 or 300 left of these. You can find me on my website is mr-shy.com. I have Instagram. I am on YouTube. These podcasts or ShyCasts, they'll be uploaded to YouTube, also to Rumble. I've also got a Facebook page. And so you can find me, contact me on any of those. And as far as the guest today, Candance Moore, the writer, published writer and editor, she's got an email. I have it. And you can always reach out to me if you want to contact her. Again, she's an amazing woman, a true dear friend, lots of wisdom, incredibly smart, not just book smart. She's independently researched smart, and she's a woman of God. She's an evangelical. So without further ado, here is my interview with Candance Moore, which we taped earlier this week, and I hope you enjoy it. And so here it is. This is Mr. Shy, and this is ShyCast episode 2. I'm coming to you from Shy Crib, and there's Old Glory right behind me, and my guest today, who's smiling already. I must have already flubbed something, and her name is Candance Moore.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. Now we are, can I call it kindred spirits, kind of, and
Yes.
we're great friends.
Yes.
And how we became friends is sort of, well, everyone becomes friends in their unique way, and we have our own unique story. But let's start with you. And well, no, I guess let's touch on how we met, and how we're so different and yet quite the same in a lot of ways, and how this friendship came to be. And I'll let you take the baton on that one.
That was just kind of a chain of events that it seemed like destiny led us to this path, and it was a complicated path with many steps that neither one of us quite understood. But we actually met on a forum, a website discussion chat forum.
Forum is a good word.
Yes, and so both of us had kind of been drawn to that
Chat room.
place. We had kind of been drawn there because it was issues and things that we both cared about.
Right. And
And
just let me interrupt. This is not dating forum or website. Something very different.
No. This was a socio-cultural kind of place with like serious issues.
Right.
And so we both ended up there because we cared about those issues. And then we kind of saw each other in passing, and then we started talking. And then there was this season when all of these events like perfectly congealed, and we like really bonded and really got to know each other. And then like that all just fizzled out and faded away, but then we were still friends when the dust settled.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've been friends ever since.
Well, I mean, we met on this sort of forum site, I guess a blog site thing, which is a little more sort of cultural politics. And then we kind of, there was a group of us that met in kind of a chat room to discuss whatever issues of the day.
Everything, yes.
And yet this person with a unique name kind of stood out to me. And then at some point after a few of these chats, we kind of broke off. I think we got each other's number. And then next thing you know, we're really just friends. And you're married, yes?
Yes, I am married. I'm happily lovely, married to my bestest friend in the whole wide world.
And I know you both now, and I've visited you. You're not where I live, and we're again just at two different places in more ways than one. You're in Virginia, right? Sort of central Virginia, and I'm in New York City. But I went to visit you, gosh, God, that's almost 9 years ago, 8, 9 years ago. And then you came to New York for a few days, stayed with me. And then I went and saw you again this past summer,
Yeah.
along with another good friend. So tell us about you growing up and going from what you were as a child to where you are now, which is there's a transformation there.
Oh, yeah,
And
pretty big transformation, yeah. Yeah, well, my family, I don't even know where to start with my family. My, my father, on his side of the family, they were first generation Irish immigrants. And his father was actually a POW in World War II. And so when he came back from the war, he was kind of disabled and things like that. So my father had a really rough childhood with him. And then on my mother's side of the thing, her family was primarily German and British. And so when these two worlds kind of collided with each other, a lot of stories happened.
I didn't know you share a pretty similar lineage heritage to me. I didn't know you had so much Irish in you, and British, and I mean, and I've got some Scottish, but and go on.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of my family background, primarily German, Irish, English. It's primarily what my
Right.
ethnicity background is. So then my parents, they had a lot of crazy stuff that happened, and so basically my father ended up. He was an alcoholic for many years. He was a drug abuser, all this and that, and so we were on public assistance, unemployment public assistance for many years when I was a child. And so my parents were, I guess, what you would call the quintessential low information citizen. I think that's fair to say. They watched certain network TV shows and they really believed that that was real life.
That's, yeah.
Yes, yes. So, and it was just whatever was on the screen. It was just the news of the day. That was the news.
Yep.
And
Oh,
so I sort of, in my own personal life, I kind of started noticing here and there, like, they're not very bright. And so I kind of started off on my own path. And
but I didn't know.
then,
This I also didn't know because again, we talk all the time, and I thought I knew everything, but I didn't actually hear this more kind of detailed story of what drew you to kind of step back and question things, and that is watching your parents and your family just sitting in front of the TV, watching, gulping down the news, which people still do today, and that you just were an independent mind enough, even at that young age, to kind of say, "All right, why are they doing this?" and just believing everything that comes through the what's that one guy calls it, the stupid box. But yeah, but go on.
well, for me, I think the breaking point
Idiot
was
box.
the breaking point for me was really the fact that I really gravitated toward books and philosophy because that was like my personal sandbox. And I quickly discovered that if I was in that realm, none of my other family was there. So if I read books, they didn't know about my books. If I was into some kind of a philosopher or something, they didn't know who that person was. So that became my own personal snow globe, I guess you could
Right.
say.
You were not raised in a book reading environment at all.
No, my mother used to give me books she figured out that I would be quiet if she gave me books.
Wow.
So books were like my babysitter when
Yeah.
I was a child. So I just kind of ended up in my own little bubble with all of my favorite books and everything. And then just kind of being in that mindset where I thought about things critically and I, was highly mentally engaged. I kind of began to see that other people around me didn't think that way. So it was just better for me to see the world that way. And so I pretty much started drifting away from the pack in my family, gosh, pretty early on, yeah.
No, I mean you got it back then that this is all kind of a mob mentality. Everyone's thinking the same, all coming from this one source. And here you are really expanding your mind, reading, and it just dawns on you, oh my gosh. Uh, just because you're raised by parents and you love your parents, it doesn't mean that they're showing you the truth in all sorts of things at all. And I
Yes.
have that. I can tell that same kind of story a little bit, although I, I went along to get along for a lot of my life and kind of stayed with what was cool into my young adult years. But so yeah, you were raised in poverty, and you moved around a lot too, right?
Well, in my adult life, I've moved around quite a
Oh,
bit,
okay,
but for the first 15 years, I was in Ohio.
okay. So yeah, so then I mean, teenage years in the '90s, you were different than what you are now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I went through I guess you could call it my anti-establishment phase.
The
Yeah,
fake
pretty.
anti-establishment age.
Yeah, yeah, but that kind of rock
Yeah,
and roll question authority.
right.
That went through me pretty early on in life, and pretty much I was I dabbled in Buddhism, I dabbled in vegetarianism. I just did a lot of crazy stuff, and I had a lot of friends who were into witchcraft and New Age and tarot reading and things like that. And that was just the world that I lived in. That was just it. I actually remember, I have a very strong memory of being like 16, and my sister had an actual black candle that
A
she
butt.
had in our bedroom. She had a black candle in our bedroom.
Oh, a candle.
And
Okay.
she had books. She had witchcraft books, and she was burning this black candle to try to put spells on her enemies, to
Oh,
try to
wow.
like curse and harm her enemies
Right.
through witchcraft. I have a strong memory of that being in my bedroom when I was like 16. Like that was the world that we were living in.
Wow.
And I have family members now who are active in the, the the world of Satanism, and some of them, you know, we got into that as teenagers, and some of them stayed there forever. Some of us didn't. So by the time that I was 17, I could see pretty clearly, you know, okay, my parents didn't have the answer, but these people don't have the answer either. You know, just thinking about it objectively, watching things that happen, the New Age world wasn't any better. You know,
Yeah.
there wasn't more love, there wasn't more depth, there wasn't better philosophy. It was just kind of a different club to be in. That's all it was, just a different crowd to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was 17, I was already kind of over it. And I was like, I've already tried all of these paths. I've already tried all of these tactics and techniques. I don't know what to do.
And I think you're ready to stand on your own
Yeah, oh, that was
at
the summer when I
17.
graduated high school. And when
Right.
I
That's great.
graduated high school, I was still 17, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Where do I go? What do I do all day? I don't know. You know, I had this idea that I wanted to be a writer. You know, I knew I wanted to make books
Yeah.
for a living, but philosophically, as a worldview, you know, what does it mean? I had no idea. And so I graduated high school, like, where am I supposed to go? And so then that summer, when I was 17, I was pretty put out. And then I got invited to this church vacation camp. It was a vacation camp out in the woods in the country, sponsored by a church. It was what they call Vacation Bible School, if you guys know about that. So basically, a church will have like a campground or something, and then you just go and you live in the woods for like a week, and you just play games and just hang out and have a vacation, and then you also you have church. And so I had gotten invited to that, and at the time I was thinking, okay, I'll have a free vacation. I'll go live in the woods and play volleyball for a week. I can do that. Which honestly, that was all I was going for. And I knew that I was going to hear some preaching, but I thought, yeah, I've heard preaching. I can just make it through that. You know, I'll just sit through that and play some volleyball then the next day, and it'll be fine. That was why I went to that camp. So we got to that campground, and this was in North Carolina, by the way, and I think it was July when we got there. I think it was around July 4th holiday. And for the first 2 or 3 days, it was just nothing happened. I was just having fun, and that was it. Nothing crazy happened. But then I think it was about the fourth day when I was there, and then I was sitting in the evening church service, and I was totally bored and I was daydreaming. And all of a sudden, I had this very strange experience that I found myself in the middle of a debate with a person. And I don't know, I can't explain how it happened. That's just what it was. I was just in a debate with a person. And he was like philosophically challenging me. And I was getting angry because I was losing the debate, which is
Meaning
not like me.
debate between someone of faith and you at the
No,
time.
no, it was me within myself. There
Oh.
was this conversation happening that I was somehow a part of, and I don't even know how it started.
Oh, this is. Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Not a
So
real.
I'm
This
sitting
is,
there, I'm sitting there daydreaming, and in my head, this 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 person is debating me, and it was certainly not something I was manufacturing because I was getting angry at losing the debate. And so finally he was talking to me, and he was like, well, why don't you want to even try Jesus? And I was like, well, because it's stupid and the Bible is stupid and Christians believe stupid things. Because I really thought Christians were stupid. I really did. I thought like the whole Christian thing was just, you know, an excuse for just stupid, lazy people to get out of their problems. I really thought that's what it was. So this voice was like, well, why don't you like even try? And I was like, no, this is stupid. And then he was like, you've tried other stupid things. And I was like, well, yeah, but that's different. So he just kept like wearing me down. And finally he cornered me and he was like, don't you think that the fair democratic thing to do would be to give Jesus the same chance that you have tried, that you have given to other things? Right. And he was just like, he was using all of my values and ethics against me. It was so infuriating. And so finally I lost the debate. I could not think of a rebuttal. And I was like, fine. So I was not happy about it. I remember I went down to the front and my first official prayer was basically me saying, this better not be a ripoff. And you better be real. Like, don't waste my time. You better be real. That was my prayer that night.
Better not be a ripoff, you said?
Yeah. Like, this better not be fake. You know, like, don't waste my time. This better not be fake. That was my prayer that night. And I remember saying, if you actually convince me, then I will do everything the Bible says. But you have to convince me first. And that was our conversation that night. And then nothing happened right away. And I went to bed. But then the next morning when I woke up, there was a person in my bedroom with me. And I can't explain how. I'm just saying he was there. He just was.
A capital H-E?
He, yes. There was a he in my room with me when I woke up. And he followed me he followed me outside and he followed me to the kitchen and he followed me everywhere and he would not let me go. And I remember.
This would be I'm going to just 1998?
Yes, this was in 98. This was the summer of 98.
I don't want to get too deep dive into me and my spiritual and things that happened, but I had that. I think I told you about this because, again, we're good friends going way back. And I think I've shared most stuff with you that I've gone through. You remember I had a black hole kind of thing. It was an anxiety thing. And this was the beginning of 98. And you're going through that in I don't know if it's almost the same time. And this is before we knew each other. Just throwing that out there. But go on. Sorry.
So yeah, that whole spring and summer was like, I was really in an existential crisis leading up to those events in July.
Right.
And so that day, I remember he was following me. And I remember it was so physically tangible. I actually felt him touching me.
Wow.
And so he stayed with me. And then finally I was like, okay, I believe. Okay, I believe. Like, because honestly, in all of the other things that I had tried, so many of my other friends, we talked about reincarnation. We talked about so many different ideologies. None of them had ever produced anything that I could even point to as being a real experience.
Wow.
You know, like, okay, you can do a magic trick. You can make something levitate. Okay, but what good does that do me?
Right.
You know, what good does that do me? And so that experience was unlike any experience that I had had in any other kind of spiritual ideology or anything. And I just remember that he knew my personality so well that he knew exactly what to say to me. And so with everything that happened in that kind of 24-hour period, I was like, there's something about Jesus. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but this is different. That's all I know.
I swear I felt I had a spirit possessing me. Although it wasn't like a person next to me, but I was just literally something possessed me.
Wow.
And it's around that time.
Wow.
And then now we're best friends.
Yeah.
Now I got to really
led to each other. It was meant to be.
Some more. But go on. Anyway.
Yeah. So after that happened, then I was like, well, I got to keep my end of the bargain. I have to read the Bible. I have to do whatever it says.
Wow.
I promised him. So I started reading the Bible and I started applying myself to, making an effort to do things correctly. And ever since then, I've had a lot of crazy experiences. You've seen some of the crazy experiences that I've been subjected to.
Up until recently, even.
Yeah. So,
That
so many supernatural things have happened. So many, I can't even, I've lost count of the number of miracles, the number of supernatural things that have happened. And just with each passing year, I can honestly say that the Bible and the theology and the philosophy contained in the Bible is the only thing that I have ever found that is rich enough to captivate me. I have never had any interest in any religions or any philosophies. Like, I've never had any interest in leaving him for something better. I've never found anything better.
it's a
And
book. It's a book, and he is someone who just blows everything else out of the water.
just blows everything else out of the water. Just does. And just the there is actually enough there that I can be entertained and challenged, and I never find the bottom. So until I find the bottom, I'm still on Team Jesus. That's
Until
all
you
I can
find a what?
until I find the bottom.
Oh, the
I've
bottom.
not yet found the bottom of this theological journey. I cannot find the bottom of Jesus. I just can't.
I
So
see.
I'm still looking.
I see. No, that's we've never really done this, and we've never just sat and told full stories of how things came about in our lives, and that's no, that's great. Um, and you are a writer,
Yes.
and
My love
and
for books blossomed into a real legit writing career. Absolutely.
you're a published writer.
Yes.
Actual books and also digital books. And what's it, Tinder or not?
Kindle. Kindle.
Kindle's that. Yeah. Um, here's here's one book. I'm just gonna put it up here.
Oh, that was my first ever book.
That's your first published book.
That was my first. Do you know the story of how that book got published? Do you know that story?
I mean, I know it's a small publisher. The guy who runs it, or that's not the story, or
Yeah. I was a upstart publishing house. That was actually, I wrote that book. There's me. Oh, I was such a baby back
oh,
then.
you're still a
Oh,
baby.
yeah, I
Stop.
was like
But
10
yeah,
years old.
tell us, yeah, the
Well,
story.
story behind that book, I got the idea to write that book, and then I remember I wrote it, and then I felt like it was meant to be published, but I could not find any interest. I could not. No one was. Nobody wanted to publish it or anything, and I was just crushed. And then I actually just kind of put it off to the side and forgot about it and everything like that. And then I remember about a year later, I started feeling this impulse to pull it back up and go over it again and tweak it and polish it. And I started feeling this impulse to just do this. And I was like, why? I don't have any leads. No one will ever read this. And I was just doing that off and on. And then finally one night, I remember getting irritated, and I just prayed, and I was talking to Jesus, and I said, nothing's happening, so you're not helping me get published. I'm just done. I'm not going to fool with this anymore. And lo and behold, it was a matter of days later, I got an email from a publisher offering to publish that book.
Wow.
Out of the blue.
So you didn't
I didn't even query him. He approached me because he said God told him to publish my book.
you never
That's what happened.
sent out your writings or manuscripts or books to publishers to try to get published?
I had done that, but not him. Not
Well,
him.
not him, and he just came to you.
He approached me out of the blue saying God told him to publish my book. That's what happened. Yep.
Wow.
So that's how Plus Lodabar got published. Yep.
Wow. Um, I I worked on the cover.
Yes, you did.
Also,
Yes, you did. You worked on
because
the jacket and everything, the cover design.
I'm a I'm a recording artist, performer, but I'm also a graphic designer. I do print stuff. I do web. But no, that's amazing. And this is a great. It's fiction. It's a novel.
Yes.
And it's a great read. Everything you write is spiritual
Yes.
and or has a connection to your faith,
Oh, yes.
I think.
Yes.
And really, well, let's go back to your goth days and being into, grunge bands and pop culture. And then again, at a very young age, realizing this is all just not a charade. What's the word? But it's just, this is what gets pumped at me by this world I'm in. But you really just kind of walked away from it all when you really found. him and found a lot of wisdom in all of that as well, I think.
Well, yeah. After that little 24-hour period there and everything, and I promised him that I would read the Bible and do everything it said. You find out pretty quick. Listening to music that glorifies sex and drugs is not going to work.
Yeah,
so that was one of the first things that had to go.
No, I know.
And so I was like, well, if it's inappropriate, it's not appropriate. And so I just said, gonna cut it off. And all of the interest in it just evaporated. I didn't miss it. Like, as soon as I made that decision that it was not appropriate, I completely lost interest in it. And then I just started seeing, like, most of what's on TV, most of what's in magazines, most of what's on the internet, it's just trash. And so that I started catching on to that pretty quick. Yeah.
Right. And your quote heroes are drug addicts that
drug addicts and
by 30 something,
yes.
or if they even get that far.
Yes.
And now I know I'm jumping ahead here, but since we're kind of in this topic of music and you kind of walking away from that, I'm not trying to, and you're not here to paint you as like you're completely detached from popular stuff. No, you worked with me, and I'm a pop singer, but I'm just not. Well, I'm not. I don't glorify ugly things. I'm still pretty agnostic. We're very different still, but I write music that you can really listen to. It's love songs, it's uplifting, and you were not afraid at all to. I was sort of getting tired of writing lyrics, and you were sort of my guru on so many things, so wise and smart, and a writer. And one day I said, hey, will you help me finish this song? And you did. And then from there, we did a lot of collaborations together, you as a co-lyricist with me. And you even wrote a couple of my songs. You wrote the entire lyrics, even came up with the title, So Inside My League.
Do you get lonely, my dear? Up there in that stratosphere, you wave goodbye to every man you meet. Too beautiful for anyone to touch, too beautiful for anyone to love. All the men, they say you're too hard to please, but I can see you with me. Yes, I can. Oh, yes, I can. 'Cause girl, you're so inside my league.
You wrote that whole thing. Other songs, I kind of had a title, had a part of a verse, but it's just me writing the same. I don't challenge myself enough as a writer, and I could, but I went to you, and you would just also come at it with a kind of a fresh angle. I don't want to stay on this too long, but this is just one of the many eclectic, eccentric-y ways that we are connected, even though we're from different worlds, but we're very much connected to a lot of the same things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're someone of total faith. I mean, you're evangelical. I'm drawn really to you more than most of there's depth when I talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying that. And when I talk to friends here, and it's all just, it's, everything of the flesh and this world. And I'm still stuck in that a little bit, and I still have a need for it, but maybe I'm just growing at a slower rate. You grew fast. We all have different clocks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But and so you're in flyover country technically.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a city girl, although you did live in some cities when you were young adult years. You lived in Seattle, did you?
Seattle, Philadelphia, Minneapolis.
Right. Oh, in Philadelphia. Okay.
Yeah.
You were in New Jersey for a little short time.
Yes.
Not too far from me. You recently did something interesting. You decided, and you told me it was kind of in quarantine, and you decided to learn Hebrew.
Yes, that's.
And the real inspiration, or what drew you to doing this, was so you could translate the Bible, and I think the Old Testament.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
The Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and if you're a Christian for any length of time, eventually, if you're a student of the Bible, you're going to drift into Hebrew eventually.
That's the
You
original.
start learning Hebrew words and things, like words like shalom and words like Yahweh,
Right. Yahweh.
those are Hebrew words that all of us know. So if you're a student of the Bible, you're going to drift into Hebrew eventually. And so really just looking for something to do to pass the time, kind of, while I was home all day. I was like, why don't I just sit down and just formally learn Hebrew, just learn how it works and learn how to read it.
Well,
So I just did it.
and just so the listeners that are not so, obviously a lot of that aren't of the faith don't know this, and you told me this, I think, the other day, and I hope I have it right, that there's two versions of the book, and the original book was written in Hebrew, and the
Two
second
versions of the book.
sorry, Old Testament and New Testament.
Yes.
Okay. Either we'll keep that in there for comic relief and people can laugh at me, or I'll edit it out. But there's the Old Testament and the New Testament. That's what I meant by the two.
Yes.
They're not they're not separate books, but they are. The New Testament. Well, actually, teach me now. Okay, here I'm just out to the world. I'm still ignorant on this stuff. In the New Testament, it's not like so it's not like the Constitution and then you bring in the Bill of Rights. No, is that
No, I wouldn't say that's a good.
comparison? That no. Okay.
No. Well,
What is it? We're going
basically,
off on a tangent in here, but I'll get back on track.
so basically, the thing with the Old Testament is that the Old Testament contains all of the necessary theology for the Christian worldview.
Okay.
But we believe that Jesus, he was preparing to come. And so the Old Testament is the story of Jesus before he shows up. So it's preparing for his arrival. It's laying the foundation of prophecies and predictions about him. It's explaining, setting precedents in place so that when Jesus does something, you understand why he did it.
Okay.
And it's giving you this whole list of things that only Yahweh does. And then when Jesus comes and he does all of those things, then you realize that he is Yahweh.
Oh, so it's really a part one and part two.
Yes, it's a part one and part two. That's really what it is. Yes. So then the New Testament is then the book that after the arrival and then after the big reveal and everything, then it's showing you this is how now to view the Old Testament. This is the lens through which you should read the Old Testament.
I see. Even though it's part two, it kind of affects how you see part one.
Yes, it shows you this was the intention. This was what everything was leading to. So now that you know the big reveal, you can go back and read and look at part one, and now part one makes sense.
Okay, but now part one was written in Hebrew and part two is in Greek.
Yes,
the original.
Greek, yes.
Okay, but so getting back to Hebrew, so you translated. You're still learning it. I mean, you're still doing this, but you're translating the Bible and literally doing a point-by-point PowerPoint kind of a tutorial.
Well, I'm just about done
Finishing up
with the tutorial.
Wow.
Yeah, the tutorial, it's not how to read the Bible. It's not a Bible translation. It's a fun tutorial to teach you the Hebrew language.
Oh, that's great.
And I started doing it just in my own, because when I was gathering all of the breadcrumbs from all of the other places, and there are some great resources out there.
Yeah.
For the independent learner, if you want to learn, there's some great resources out there.
Yeah.
But it can be, some of it's a little old and a little outdated, and so some of the, the websites are not very colorful, and I would get a nugget over here and a nugget over there, and I thought, well, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a 21st century way, for us young kids to Hebrew, there's just got to be a better way. So in my own travels, whenever I learned something, I would have to put it somewhere. So I was building my own notebook of all of the little bits and pieces that I learned here and there. I had to have my own central location.
Yeah.
Because I learned that what's already out there, I could not find one place that had all the information. There's
Right.
there's no place I can point to that has everything.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to have to do that for myself. So I started making my own resource that had all the information I had accumulated and incorporating colors and fun little things and just ways that are, if you know about PowerPoint, if you know about graphic design, if you're looking for something a little more on the fun, whimsical way to present information, that's what it is. It's a whimsical PowerPoint tutorial to teach you Hebrew.
No, when I visited you, you had half of it done, and it was it was really impressive. And I was already pitching, like, you got to get this published as, a kind of twofer that you can learn Hebrew. And so it's not, this is not at all a translation of the Bible. That was total falsehood by me.
Yeah, this is grammar. It's a grammar
for yourself.
book.
You're doing it also because it helps to know it and knowing the Bible, but that's not what this is. Okay, gotcha.
Right, yes.
And while we're on the subject of the Bible and Christianity, I think you and I, and again, I'm somewhere, I'm still on my journey and my path, but my best friend is you, and you're someone of real faith and a friend of yours. She's also a good friend of mine, and the more I'm kind of living in New York, the more I'm just thinking, what is this place? Because you don't have a lot of that here, and increasingly we have less and less of it in this country. We are morally rudderless, so much of the country.
Yes.
And it is kind of, that is really that's where it all starts and where the things begin to fall apart. There's less love. There's just more darkness. And grunge, which you were into, and when you were a kid, and a lot of the music that I, grew up with, I still stayed close to what appealed to me, and that is just things that made me feel that were uplifting and about, love and loss, sort of just earthly relationship stuff, but it wasn't dark. And more now, music and all arts and culture and entertainment, it's getting darker. Families are no longer being emphasized. A nuclear family, just all where to begin. It's just so much of the way people live and what they see as good and bad is just sort of turned up on its head, and it really is. And again, I speak as not a Christian, yet I feel we need something, some core, some compass. Without that, it's a free for all of millions of people. It becomes chaotic.
And I would just encourage anybody doing this to really stop and think about what you're consuming in music, in movies, because so many people think, well, I can watch this and it doesn't impact me. It doesn't go into my subconscious. It doesn't tell me anything of what to do. And that's like saying that you can go to McDonald's every day and eat their food every day and it won't bother you. And the calories will just go nowhere and it won't bother you.
Another example is, the people that scream about gun violence, which is that's a topic of its own, and how they frame it, and they call it not violence, but it's gun violence, but it's a person with a weapon or a tool. But then you say to them, well, then why do we have violent rap music, and why do we have every other video game is literally you're a soldier, or you have a gun and you're shooting things up. Movies have guns all over the place. So we have all that. We're saturated with that. And then we end up with Columbines, and we end up with, quote, gun violence. And they sort of say, oh, well, that's not an influencer. What? It's just they're in denial.
Well, even aside from whether it leads a young person to literally pick up a gun, aside from that, fundamentally, the message that clearly is being received is that people are disposable, You can be selfish to get what you want. You can remove people out of your way to get what you want.
Yeah.
Those messages that we see in our society, we see the callousness,
Yep.
we see the selfishness, we
The
see the
me.
flippancy.
And we see it all rampant now. We more and more we're realizing just so much of government has this as well, and just everywhere. It's just a narcissist kind of existence from a lack of what I started out pointing out. But go on, yeah,
And to me, that's a much bigger danger to society, because you can collect objects from people, you can confiscate physical things from people, you can put people in jail for doing illegal things.
yep,
But if you have 300 million people who are all self-absorbed and think that their friends and partners are disposable, then that's a much bigger problem.
no, you're right.
And that is truly the damage that is being done by the media in this country. And I think that that is a much bigger tragedy, because if somebody picks up a weapon or an object and they make a mistake or something happens, they can learn from that.
Yeah,
You can remedy that situation. But people who are perpetually flippant and self-absorbed, that person is almost untouchable. Nothing phases them.
yep,
And that is a much worse poison. That is a
yep,
much... People don't stop and think. Especially as a Christian, we talk about what is an obvious sin and what's not really a sin.
yeah,
Or, the atheist agnostic view might be, well, what's a crime but not really a crime? The stuff that's not technically bad is still pretty bad.
yeah,
And when we look at the suicide is happening as an epidemic in this country. Homelessness is
yep.
happening as an epidemic in this country. And
Suicide.
everybody talks about, why do we have homelessness? Why do we have so much poverty? Why do we have so many people turning to drugs and alcohol
Yep.
and all of these things? Why? Why? Maybe it's because you are living in a world that is telling you 24/7 that death and violence are cool. Maybe that's why.
Yep.
So I see it as that is really the most dangerous poison that is being pumped into American homes.
Man, it still just shocks me that so many people don't get it. It's sort of pretty. It's obvious what cause and effect is in this whole thing.
Well, and again, this is something that I remember the famous quote from Bill Cosby. If marketing doesn't work, then why are their sponsors having advertisers on TV? If it doesn't work, are they wasting their money? They're
No,
not
you're
doing
right.
it because
You're
it
right.
doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. It totally works on way too many people.
And I remember that was a big tipping point for me, beginning to question like the world. When I was faced with this question, like the music that you're listening to is very godless music. And then I had the question, why is this the music that record companies and these corporate labels, why is this the music that they're investing in?
Yep.
Why not positive music? Why
Yep.
not somebody who is a better role model? Why not somebody who is going to steer young children to succeed and stay away from drugs?
Yep.
Why is this the music in every genre, for every celebrity, from every record label? Why is this always the message?
No, and when I watch TV and I cut the cord, as they say, the cable cord. So I just sort of stream things and I have it plugged it into my TV or just whatever device I'm watching on. You get interrupted with Netflix ads, and Netflix is today's broadcast, content maker, versus what we had with traditional TV years ago. I mean, they still do their shows, but Netflix is the big thing, and there's a few others, and everything, all the shows they're advertising are just like kind of just weird, futuristic, dark themes of just like a sort of body snatcher looking stuff and or the occult. I mean, they're still pumping this stuff out, and it's glossy, beautiful production, but it's just dark stuff. And that's almost every Netflix thing. There's no just really just simple, not simple, but just nothing that inspires positively. You know, let's let's look into the deepest parts of our soul. Like that's real art. And we just keep getting hammered with that's what art is. And it gets us nowhere. Like you said, I think it just leads to, certainly to the younger generation. I mean, the way they are so confused and suicidal. And people these days, it's almost the norm. All entire families are on antidepressants, and psychiatry and shrinks. It's a booming business, certainly in where I live. And it's all the norm and normal, but it's like all this stuff to put band-aids on how much our bodies and our minds and souls have been kind of corrupted by the stuff that our media pumps out. The government kind of protects it, but then they shut down real free speech that's sort of fighting against it. Anyway,
Yeah.
we could be here for a long time. I'm going to have you back on. I'm not ending this, but you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, when you realize it isn't an accident, then you start questioning why these people are doing this.
Yeah.
It's not, we have not accidentally ended up where we are.
Okay.
I mean, you cannot tell me that these people have MBAs in business, they have masters and doctorate degrees in marketing and psychology. You cannot tell me that they have stumbled into this.
No.
This is by design. They are choosing these people to support, and they are choosing the songs that those people sing.
And it's been in the works for decades, maybe a century. And I know we had a little talk about this recently, and we can really start to unpack that in the next time we're on. Although
And
we'll have to use code.
Yeah, really. But I just wanted to say quickly, going back to what you said before about, I'm not fundamentally against pop music. And people have this idea, like Christians don't like secular music. No, we don't like trashy, godless secular music. That's what we don't like.
No, and I like that when you kind of were first talking about this and what you started to reject, you just said it's trash.
It is.
And there's so much trash.
Yes. And if we turned on Top 40 radio and they were actually playing pleasant music.
No, I know it's a
we
thing
might
of
listen to it.
Yeah. Let's end this here because again, we are close, deep friends. We've had late night talks for hours about all sorts of things, and very often we're sort of in tune together on stuff. We're not just I don't just agree with you because you're my friend, but it's like people that I get drawn to. It's like wow, and like wow again, like oh, she's totally right. I didn't think of that, and it's just like, and I think maybe I do that to you at times too. It's like we see it the same way, and we could be wrong, but I don't think we are as far as just living a good life and kind of the good versus evil, which we're definitely in a fight here. And it's not a new fight.
Well, I certainly don't have any qualms about whether the alternative is correct, because I kind of did the alternative and didn't end very well for me.
No.
So, and even when I kind of look out there and kind of, it's like I pop my head out and I'm like, nope, still trash, not interested. It's like, yeah, there's nothing that I'm missing. That's all I'm gonna say.
But it's funny, but we champion individual freedom, but not narcissistic me, and what and the things I worship, like celebrity idolatry. They're the god for me. And so it's just sort of me and famous people are what matters. And it's just like, I'm getting rambling existentially here, but let's do this again. Because this is just we're again, very close friends, and I hopefully I successfully brought you on and just stepped back, introduced you to the world. And I want to thank you for coming on.
Okay. This was a pleasure.
No. This is we've been wanting to do this for a long time. And when you start your show, you bring me on. And no, ain't gonna happen. Is your sound not working?
Oh, I was being.
I'm just teasing. Thank you, Candance. This is great. I'm going to have you back.
We have no lack of things to talk about, that's for sure.
We have what?
No lack of things to talk about.
No lack of things to talk about. And also, yeah. No, it should be fun. I will, we'll stay in touch, of course. And thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone. This is ShyCast, episode 2, with my very special guest, Candance Moore from Virginia. Take care and God bless. So there it is. Candance Moore, again, a wonderful friend, someone that really was instrumental in a lot of what I've been doing with my music, if you can believe it, because she's not from the music world. She's not even from my world here in New York, which is very different from the world she lives in, which is primarily a world of faith more than anything. But I definitely want to have her back on. She is a wonderful person, a great friend, and was instrumental, no pun intended or pun intended, with my music. Even though she's really not from the world of music and entertainment, and certainly not pop culture. And I definitely want to have her back on, because we've had nights where we just talk about all sorts of things, and I learned so much from her. And so I will definitely have her back on. My next guest, I don't know who that's going to be yet. I'm sort of flying by the seat of my pants here. And again, I apologize for not having music in this episode. It will be a one-time thing. Next episode, I'll definitely be doing at least 2 songs on that piano with a crew and with working equipment. For now, this is episode 2, ShyCast, and thanks again. And I'll see you in episode 3.